Let's move to the fire hose.
Let's do the Firehose.
Rapid fire news segments. Twist on this segment this week. This is going to be completely produced by Claude Sonnet 4.6. Claude has written my scripted parts for this, and it also picked the stories we're going to talk about. So let's see what we have in store tonight. I've already looked at some of these, their paragraphs. I told it for 2 sentences and no more. Anthropic signed a deal with SpaceX to use its Colossus 1 data center, adding the equivalent of 220,000 NVIDIA GPUs of computing power within a month and doubling rate limits for paid users of its Claude Code developer tool. The subplot worth at least mention here is Elon Musk called Anthropic misanthropic and evil last year, then met with the team, changed his mind publicly on X, and SpaceX is now Anthropic's single largest compute supplier. Not bad, Claude.
Well, I guess in the mind of, would you call him Papa Elon?
Papa Elon.
Yes. Evil means you're not a paying customer. Virtuous means you're a paying customer. So if you start to pay, then it's amazing what dollar bills can do to the definition of virtuous.
Yeah.
That's my only comment there.
We'll come back to that one with the White House later. Pennsylvania became the first state to file a government-level lawsuit against an AI company after a government investigator found a character.ai chatbot named Emily, described on the platform as a doctor of psychiatry, provided her with a fake medical license number, and offered a mental health diagnosis. The company says it has disclaimers noting that its characters are fictional.
Yeah. Well, psychiatrists can issue drugs. So let's hope that the AI cannot do that. If it's hallucinating, it might actually prescribe hallucinogens, right? We have enough of those going around, opioids as well. I'm actually just curious how it performed. Did it do a good job or would it do a good job? It's kind of the same dilemma as we talked about above in the ER about AI safety in medicine. What are the trade-offs between allowing innovation but regulating and making sure that consumers are safe? And let's say this, I have a strong opinion on licensing and cartels.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this licensing is well-intentioned in medicine and law, etc., but it creates a cartel situation where it's very difficult to innovate even if your intentions are good, right? So that's a good debate to have as you get new technologies and new ways of improving potentially consumer care and psychology and psychiatry and medicine, but paying respect to safety, right? It's difficult. I don't have a perfect answer, but I'm always skeptical of licensed professionals saying we need more regulation because that makes the barriers to getting a license typically higher, which allows them to bank.
I've never been on character. Well, I'm on character AI right now. If you ever go there, I don't know how you could confuse this with actual medical advice in the first place. Companies need to make sure that they understand they're responsible for what their AI that they put out there does. And it's just going to be the end of the story, I think.
Probabilistic, though.
Yeah.
And sycophantic, so it's going to tell you what you want. It's hard to predict.
Yeah. Okay. Shake Shack shares. Shake Shack shares fell by the largest amount in company history this week after missing earnings. And McDonald's CEO issued a direct public warning about consumer spending, citing declining traffic across all income levels. When McDonald's is losing customers, the spending stress signal is about as broad as it gets.
We talked about this on Five Guys. The broader strategic question I would be asking myself if I were at McDonald's, and I'm not. I do like McDonald's. I have kids. It's very convenient when you're traveling. Is this wallet pressure? Is this trading down, which you often see in the restaurant industry? Or is it a broader shift in consumer taste? Because that one is fatal. If it's a broader shift, that becomes fatal for McDonald's. That's different from pricing. And if inflation cools down, if the Strait of Hormuz, if the supply chain, whatever you want to call it, eases up, right? The pressures in the supply chain ease up. Is it price or consumer taste? I don't know the answer, but that's what I'd be freaking out about if I were a restaurant chain.
Well, let's loop in this next one too. Whirlpool reported that what an analysts are calling recession-level demand destruction in major appliances this week, driven by a collapse in home renovation activity and consumers pulling back on big-ticket purchases. Appliance sales are one of the clearest leading indicators of whether households believe things are about to get better or worse.
Yeah, given the source that we're looking at here, we don't have to say the name, but often there's this doomerism, if that's even a word I'm creating, if it's not, doomerism.
I know what you mean.
But when you're looking for signs of a recession, you can find data everywhere for it. And this is one of the things when I combined it with the McDonald's data and the Whirlpool data. Are there other signs out there that suggest the opposite?
There
Is
are.
hiring? Yeah.
Six
And so
Flags
then,
is up right now.
yeah, and that's totally like leisure spending,
Yeah.
right? You could look at other things like alcohol spending, but although alcohol probably is one of the most robust
Yeah, it's hard to
products
say.
that exists. You celebrate, you buy
Might be
alcohol.
recession proof on that.
If there's doom, you buy alcohol, right? So I think that was what I was thinking with appliances. It's totally legitimate to look at appliances and people trading down, but you don't know why they did that. Was there a subsidy in the past, like some of these climate subsidies that allowed you to buy better, more energy efficient appliances? And that game is up. I don't know, but I think you see what I'm doing here. As we see the negative signs coming in, I'm just thinking on the fly. Are there positive signs so that we get both sides, and then you can come to better conclusions?
I'm not. My take is that appliances are a real need, and people who may be able to put a purchase off because they have a good pair, but people who actually need them may can't afford them right now. People who actually go to McDonald's may not have access to debt. People who go to Six Flags have access to debt. They'll put that crap on Klarna, on buy now, pay
Credit
later,
cards.
whatever. Credit cards, run that up because, woo, why not? We're a big casino. Our debt as a nation is above our GDP right now. Let's just keep that card going. All right. Intel, that's my doomer take. Intel shares hit a record high this week after reports confirmed a deal to manufacture chips for Apple devices in the United States. A move involving direct White House engagement to reduce American dependence on Taiwan's TSMC for semiconductor production. The deal validates Intel's U.S. foundry strategy as it gives Apple a domestic chip option for the first time.
We talked earlier about dual sourcing in the context of Apple triple sourcing. I think it only makes sense. And with the geopolitical activity going on, it makes even more sense. But it does call into question the late 90s, early 2000s, the offshoring strategy. And a lot of those decisions, and this is one of my biggest critiques in corporate, they were made on the pure financials, just the numbers. But numbers are abstractions. Numbers depend on you getting the qualitative information in the world correct and thinking about the future scenarios that could occur. And I don't want to bash any department, but in corporate, often decisions are purely number based that you just totally ignore geopolitics, culture, everything else, which is insane because those things drive business, they drive consumer trends, right? And so that's a good question. Is this an example of reversing the offshoring that we did earlier or not? Or is it just for chips? Does it apply to textiles or other commodities? I don't know yet, but I do want to say and emphasize that when you are making a decision to offshore or not, you have to take into account the entire environment that you're operating in. And you have to, and this is very difficult, you have to think forward to future scenarios that could play out. It is not entirely unforeseeable that protectionist presidents will exist. It is not. We had Ross Perot early, didn't we? We did. Didn't win, but it was foreseeable, probably, that one of the parties would go protectionist. It's not predictable which one, but it did happen. And my point is you have to include that in your strategic thinking, that
Yeah.
this is possible.
Well, I think it's a great thing that we're divesting from Taiwan. It's just a very strategically vulnerable spot right now. But I do also want to call out the Trump administration took a 10% stake in Intel summer of 2025, and then immediately turned around and began pressuring Apple to have a chip buying relationship with Intel. Go figure. Now it happens, and
Hey,
I'll call it. It used to be called the Pelosi effect. She's retiring. Let's call it the Trump effect. Maybe the Mark Wayne effect.
later you're going to say something like they're anti-regulations, but that looks like not.
That I have some takes on that too. Okay, Michael Burry, the investor, has made famous by The Big Short for predicting the 2008 housing collapse. He disclosed this week that he has fully exited his GameStop position after the company's CEO gave a widely panned interview on CNBC that left analysts confused about the company's direction. Burry has doubled down on Lululemon now as his next conviction trade.
So the background here is that GameStop was looking to buy eBay.
Yes,
That, before any CEO ever talks, is really damn confusing.
it's a stunt.
Is it a stunt? I don't even know if it's a stunt. I don't know what it is, but most M&A fails. Keep that as your prior. Most M&A fails at a 70 to 90% clip because the two companies clash in their business models and strategy, and it plays out and the cultures are completely different. That's the superficial reason people say they fails because the cultures clash, but it's actually upstream. What capabilities does GameStop have that suggest that it could run eBay? There's silence on both of our sides.
So
And did Michael Burry need that interview to see that? I mean, that for me, that's an insane move as somebody who worked in M&A and led it.
that interview was crazy. If you haven't seen it, I linked it to you earlier in the week, but that was a crazy ass interview. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's GameStop CEO, CNBC. It'll be out there, really easy to find. The guy's name is Cohen, I believe. But crazy interview. He's trying to buy a company that's 4 times worth the value of his, and he keeps saying it's going to be half cash, half stock. And it just doesn't, the math doesn't math, and you couldn't get a good answer out of him. So basically, the way this would work is that the deal would be 80% debt. It's just a non-starter. It's a bad idea from every angle, unless there's some genius play that they have to make eBay more profitable. They don't. It's a stunt to get headlines, and it backfired.
For me, the size, yeah, insane.
Yeah.
Even if it were smaller than GameStop, it still doesn't make sense.
It still doesn't make sense, right? Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy. Anyways, let's not give that one any more time. Novo Nordisk shares surged this week after the company raised its financial guidance on the back of accelerating commercial momentum for its oral GLP-1 weight loss pill, reversing a roughly 40% decline from its peak. The competition between Novo and Eli Lilly for dominance in the largest new pharmaceutical category in a generation continues to heat up.
That's right. My only question is, will it be OTC, over the counter? Because if it is, then I have no more excuses to not, to remain fat.
I don't think GLP-1 will be over the counter, but
It might.
it
It
might.
might.
Is it
Who
going
knows?
through approvals for
Who
that?
knows? Who knows?
So far, no, but maybe someday.
I could also just attribute it to needle fear. So
There's also another story related to that we're going to come to in a minute. I saw. Let's just go ahead and skip down and then I'll come back because it kind of rolls in. Whey protein prices have surged due to global supply crunch, creating shortages across the supplement industry and the broader protein-enriched food category that has grown dramatically in recent years. When the commodity behind a premium consumer good tends to get when the commodity behind a premium consumer trend gets squeezed, the margins and the trend tend to compress together. Claude, that was a tongue twister, buddy. What do you think on what's your take on that one, Mike?
guess I'll have to get ripped the old-fashioned way. What was that? You eat boiled eggs
Yeah.
and chicken, but it turned out we also had an egg shortage recently. So
Yeah.
I think the analysis there is not exactly wrong. that when your diet depends on commodities and they get squeezed, you got to find other ways to get ripped.
Well,
Right.
so the tie-in here with the GLP-1 is that because of the popularity of Wegovy, GLP-1, all these drugs, people don't eat a lot. So they're trying to supplement protein. So we've seen everything from Pop-Tarts with protein, candy bars with protein, just all different kinds of protein products popping up. And the way that gets there is this whey powder. And it's causing a massive supply crunch. The other side of that coin is the way that the whey protein is made. It's a byproduct from milk or cheese. It's byproduct from when you're making cheese,
Dairy.
milk, dairy. So as they're increasing production of whey, but now there's also another milk product out there, cheese product out there that's getting there's way too much of it now, so prices are extremely falling, and it's harming that industry at the same time. So it's a really weird thing. I need to do a little bit more research into it. I wish I knew more off the top of my head, but it's a kind of an interesting topic because just that protein demand is causing a lot of other things to go out of. Yeah,
Trade-offs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, LinkedIn launched a significant overhaul of its job search tools this week, allowing users to describe what they are looking for in plain conversational language rather than keyword queries, along with AI coaching on how to position their applications. Good luck. If you are currently in a job search, this one is worth checking. Is it worth checking out? I haven't checked it out yet, but that does not sound like it's worth checking out to me, Mike.
My only question is, can AI tell me why I'm still getting ghosted?
Nope. It's because the jobs probably aren't real.
They're not real.
No.
Maybe they were hallucinated by AI.
I've got this company
I don't
reach out to
even
me
know
every
if
week with fake
I
jobs.
don't even know if the HR departments exist anymore. Are they just AI in the background hallucinating job descriptions?
You want your company to look healthy. And you also want your name to get out there. So if you're...
Yes.
Anyways, two reasons they go give you fake jobs. A new reported piece examines whether employers are beginning to value demonstrated AI capability over traditional 4-year degrees, as AI tools increasingly replicate the practical outputs those degrees were supposed to certify. The question has been raised before, but the evidence supporting it is accumulating faster than it was a year ago.
Yeah. And that article is from the New Yorker. And let's just say the New Yorker is friendly territory for academia. Interpret that as you will. So if the New Yorker is raising this question, then it's more severe than we probably think. And I think now we talked about that with Harvard and ER, the emergency room, and doctors and medical schools. The only thing I believe still holding up traditional academia is the signal of a degree. But this is the question. How long can that hold? That's the single most valuable moat for academia, is that degree that it signals. Well, what does it signal, Jason? Does it signal competence, capability?
It signals that you stuck with it.
Or that, some people call it grit.
Yeah.
Or I'll make the argument that most education throughout all of history has mostly signaled social status. What it tells you is you have a stamp that says you're in the right group, you have basic skills, your family's well off, I'll hire you, because who knows how your family might help my business or whatever. That's been the case since ancient China. That hasn't changed. The only question is, does that premium hold anymore? Is it enough to only signal social status? Or with the rise of AI, do you actually have to signal competence? And if AI is able to test your actual capabilities and competence, that could be a revolution in education. And certain companies, to their credit, like Google, have gone the route of training people without a college education to be project managers. Coding has traditionally been less about social status and academic prestige and the degree, and more about your portfolio. You come from a background of making video. That has nothing to do with degrees. In the end, it's your portfolio. Like, what can you actually do?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, you can get introduced to some people if you were at the right school or whatever, but you're still not you're gonna flop if you can't do anything.
Watch Jason's videos. Watch all of them. Watch all of the videos that we're making.
Yeah, tell me how I do. The Pentagon released what it called never-before-seen files on unidentified aerial phenomena this week, following a presidential directive to declassify the material. And it said it will continue releasing additional files on a rolling basis every few weeks. The Defense Department said, and this is a direct quote, "People can make up their own minds."
Yeah, they can. Where are we going to take this on a business and strategy show? I'll just get straight to the point. The show is called Show Your Priors. And I think this is one of the cases where it's most obvious that you need to think in probabilities. There's the first question. What is the probability that aliens exist at all? What's the answer?
For me, it's individual answer, I would assume. But for me, it's 100%. I think aliens exist.
Well, let's say 99%, 99.9%. There's a high probability, given the vast expanse of the universe, that there's something else out there. That's a separate question. This is how I want you to think about this when you see articles like this. It's a separate question from what's the probability that they're here on Earth? What's that one?
For me, unlikely. Very unlikely.
Here's another one. There have been lots of sightings of unidentified aerial phenomena. I think that's what we're calling them, or inexplicable would probably be even a better word to say. We've seen them. They are weird.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, as somebody who's highly skeptical of these phenomena, they are weird and they're not easy to explain. So you'd say, what is the probability of those craft being experimental U.S. military craft?
Pretty high, in my opinion.
Pretty high. Probably high. Look at our budget. What's the probability of them being foreign craft or foreign military experimental
Less
craft?
likely, but also high.
But what if I said drones?
Very high.
Very high then, right? Or it is just possible. What is the probability that the U.S. government just doesn't have a clue? That's very high. And one of my favorite thinkers out there, Michael Shermer, makes the comment about conspiracies. How do we know that this is not a conspiracy of the government? Because it worked. Right? And that's something you got to keep in your mind as a prior. Government in most cases, and we'll get to leaks, etc. later, there's just a very low probability that they're able to carry out something like this at mass scale with the type of people that are in office. That's your prior. Until we have evidence to prove otherwise. But I have to admit, in my own case, that the inexplicability of these aerial phenomena does probably raise the probability from extremely low to a little bit less extremely low that there's something weird going on. And that's where I'll leave it. I just think this is a good way to think about probabilities, is that your starting point is maybe low probability, but as you get inexplicable evidence, you need to update your priors.
Yeah.
And we all love to bash on the conspiracy theorists out there, but if there's evidence, we should update accordingly, according to the sources, according to the evidence, not just wild speculation.
I am not a conspiracy guy. I wouldn't characterize myself
Me
as
either.
that, but I do find them interesting and interesting thought experiments. So I'll watch some videos on some to fall asleep to.
The broader question is, what if it were true? Because this happens in business too.
Yeah.
If they are real, what's the strategy for dealing with them? And that comes up in business. Like, there's a low probability bet of a startup. They're basically like a UFO out there. This startup has no chance of entering our space, like Owen Corning. What's the probability somebody enters our space with some new fiber technology as a startup? Just low.
Yeah. Well, what is it? Was it Hawking who said that he hopes we never make contact?
Well, yeah, they might be like us.
Well,
There's another theory out there by, I think, a guy named Robin Hanson, who basically said if aliens are like us, the probability that they reach us is very low because they would have destroyed themselves already.
So I have back in 2024, there was I was really drawn into it because it was very convincing. There was a guy who came out from the military. He's retired. He was talking about the Tic Tac UFO or UAP, this Tic Tac. Just crazy movements. He saw it from a naval ship, whatever. And it happened 20 years ago. So he was, I guess, free to talk about it at that point. It was declassified. But at the same time, and I didn't put this together at the time, but there was another set of people out there at the exact same time talking about cubes above South Carolina and out into the ocean that were making the same type of movements Tic Tac was.
Yeah.
And they were both being presented as UFOs. They were both at the same time. And it was, I don't know. It was disinformation was the conclusion that I came to. Do your own research. But it was disinformation as conclusion because that was U.S. crafts they were testing.
Well, you have to do all your due diligence, right? Are these light phenomena, which happen all the time when you're flying, to the craziest theories of all, other dimensions, whatever, right? But you have to do your due diligence, and I would say the healthy exercise is to assign probabilities because it forces you to think that way. What's the chance that this is real or not, given what we know?
Right.
And the moment you're sure is a bad sign for you. It's dangerous for your own thinking.
Maybe.
In general. Yeah?
I don't know. Maybe.
All right, let's move on because I think we've gone off into crazy territory a little bit.
Hey, you've just watched a clip from Show Your Priors podcast. Check out our main channel for full episodes. We have a new one every Tuesday. If you liked what you saw, give us a like and subscribe. It's free for you and helps us out a ton. Did we miss something during our discussions? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks, and we'll see you on the next one.